Welcome to the Maximize Business Value podcast brought to you by Mastery Partners, where our mission is to equip business owners like you to maximize your business value and achieve the exit of your dreams, whatever that means to you. With insights gained from over 100 business transactions, we share real-world strategies, lessons, and expert advice to help you build long-term, sustainable value in your business. Each episode is hosted by one of our Mastery certified partners. They're seasoned experts who've helped countless business owners navigate the complexities of growth, scaling, and building value. They bring first-hand experience, actionable insights, and a passion for helping you build a business that thrives. So let's dive in.
So, hello again. This is Dave Casey, and welcome to the Maximize Business Value podcast. So, this is part of a series of podcasts that we do for business leaders that are really passionate about building long-term sustainable value in their business. So, today I'm excited to be joined by Brad Stevens. So, Brad and I have known each other for just a few years, so it should be an interesting dialogue. And we actually met at a group called Business Navigators, which is a nonprofit that is it's aimed around servant leadership in the business world. And so Brad's been a longer time member than me, and served on the board as well. And so, Brad, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much, Dave. I appreciate the opportunity to visit with you.
Yeah, so this will be fun because you're in a world that's foreign to me, I guess, or at least it's uncomfortable. So tell me a little bit about your background and how you got to Level C Solutions. So,
Originally I was in printing for about 10 years, and then got recruited into the temporary industry back in the mid 80s by Norrell,
wow,
which is one of the largest temporary firms in the country.
I remember them. Yeah,
It's very on now. And fortunately, they trained you from the desk up. So I learned everything just from the way you greet candidates coming in looking for jobs to visiting with clients. Then started on the sales side in downtown Dallas when you could still knock on doors and make cold calls.
wow. The old
Yes.
days before video.
Oh, very much before video, before all the automation that's taken place.
Yeah.
Yes, in fact, that's probably the best way to learn the business.
Yep.
Um,
Yeah,
and
that's
so,
interesting I had a discussion the other day. We may or may not get to this today, but I came out of the IT world, but I feel like I'm a dinosaur, compared to where IT is today. And we had an artificial intelligence discussion actually one of our clients, and and I said, that there's a lot of things that artificial intelligence can do, but it's really hard for it to tell you or teach you how to deal with people face to face and greet people and learn to work with them and all those basics that you and I learned when we started our careers. They said, here you go. Or this is how you do it, and make sure you don't do this, and all those good things. Almost like social skills. I mean, I don't know about you, I was right out of college, so my social skills were lacking when I hit the business world. So,
well, fortunately, I had done a lot of that in the printing side of the business before I
yeah,
got into
yeah,
this. But it was very interesting at the very beginning because you learn very much how, especially in the temporary industry, how people, which still happens today, live check to check.
yeah,
Uh, yeah,
yeah, yeah.
there's a
Very
large
cool.
part of our world that is working that way.
So you
So
started in the temp world, and then what happened? Uh,
then was successful in selling in downtown, then got pulled into selling throughout DFW. And then one day I got a big brochure from our corporate headquarters of marketing department. They talked about a proactive staffing model versus a reactive temporary help
Interesting.
approach. And since I'd come from the other side of the table, from the management side, that made all the sense in the world to me.
Yeah.
And the concept was basically if you need 20 people next Monday, then you're going to get who's available. Okay.
Yep.
If you need 20 people in 2 months, well, we've got a lot of time to recruit the right candidates,
Yeah.
position. The other part that it laid out was a flexible staffing model where for those types of uh, processes that have peaks and valleys consistently,
Hmm.
then we could staff the peaks and then have the people go away for the period of time and then come back. Typically, a large part of that same group come
Yeah.
back month after month after month or through each cycle.
So you don't lose all those skills in learning. Yeah. That's in.
Correct.
Yeah. That's wonderful. Wow. Yeah. I
Reduce the
can see the big
turnover.
difference between reactive and proactive. Yeah.
Oh, very much so.
Yeah.
So appreciate when I called the lady in charge of marketing. She said, "Well, we don't have," I said, "I want to go see one of the staffing branches." And she goes, "Well, we don't have any real staffing branches." And I went, "Well, that's odd. You talked about a whole division." She goes, "Well, it's kind of a marketing thing." And I'm,
Well, there's honesty for you. So,
oh, well, I was internal.
yeah, it was internal, right? Yeah. Oh, that's kind of cool. Yeah.
Oh, well, and she goes, "Nobody's ever sold one of these." So
Yeah, you're the first one to ask about it.
I know.
Oh
So I
man.
ended up selling the old M Bank on that concept.
Yeah.
Um, so picture you selling to 15 VPs, EVPs, first VPs,
Yeah.
and the initial place we started in the banking business was in their lockbox areas,
Yep.
which typically the first 2 weeks of the months were heavy, the last 2 weeks of the month were
Yeah.
light. That's been back when everybody wrote checks.
Yep.
Um, and it was a manual process.
Sure.
And so
But all the
with that,
checks ended up at the bank for a lockbox. Yeah. Yeah.
oh, they did.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so with that, when we laid that out, they said, "So you think you can staff up our peaks and then have the people go away and then come back, the same people come back?" I said, "Well, it may not be 100%, but a good 80%
Yeah.
will, because we'll recruit and screen for that." And they're
Yep.
like, "Well, if you think you can do that, we'll give you a chance because our HR department can't do
Wow.
that." And I
Wow.
said, "Okay." So I go back to our office downtown. My VP that I reported to, he was ecstatic. He's like, "Great job. We'll just dump that in the other office and they'll never know the difference." And I went, I know the lady that runs that, and she's not going to run it like they
Yeah.
want."
Yeah. Yeah.
So we battered back and forth. I said, "If that's what you're going to do, then I'll just go back and tell the bank we're not going to do the deal."
Yeah.
He,
Yeah.
"You can't do that." I said, "That I can do because now you're talking about my integrity reputation with
Yeah, you
15."
bet.
He goes, "So we banned about it. Fine." He goes, "Fine. Then you run it. You got an
Wow.
empty office." And I went, "Well, that's wasn't the deal." Okay. So that's how I started the proactive staffing model, the
Yeah.
staffing
Yeah.
versus the temporary help model with Norrell. Took that branch, took it from startup to number one in the division in 18 months.
Wow.
Then got recruited away to Olston, took the same model to Olston, did a turnaround on DFW with that group,
Yeah.
which did everything from manufacturing, IT, staffing, accounting, everything else. And Olston was great. They're another national firm. But with that, we had a change at the EVP levels. A gentleman that hired me was top end. And this guy in the Southeast went behind his back to the president to restructure the country. And so when they did that, my new boss, I was not a good yes man, as
It's hard to believe.
you know.
Oh,
Uh, yeah, he ended up terminating me right before I was 40, right before I was fully vested.
yeah, of course. Yeah.
Huh. I know that deal.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we had just literally gotten the region profitable after 10 years of losses. And I'm like,
Yeah.
really? Running like a top. So that's when I opened up my own Staffing Services Inc.
You fixed
firm.
that problem.
Well, and I learned a lot of new ones.
Yeah. Yeah.
So opened it from the kitchen table. That's when I really learned the business and cash flow the hard way.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Uh, um, Fortunately, succeeding, ended up at our peak. We had 4 locations in Dallas, plus we opened up Denver. At our peak, we had 500 temps out day in, day out. So to get
Wow.
start up to 500 temps, just as we were getting ready to domino out to 15 markets, 9/11 hit,
Yep.
which flipped everything upside down. And just the through that, the bank that we had finally gotten direct lines of credit with for several years um, called me one day on a Wednesday afternoon and told me we're calling all your lines due on Monday. And I
Wow.
went, Monday? You mean next Monday?
Yeah.
She goes, yep. I said, well, if you take all the cash, I'm dead in the water.
Yeah. Yeah. We have to pay people.
Well, because everybody needs to get paid every Friday.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
when she goes, well, yep, we don't care. I went, what do you mean you
Wow.
don't care? He goes, today we don't care because 9/11 changed the whole banking
Yep.
business.
Yep.
So we had to close everything down. Fortunately, got everything, everybody paid, got everything cleared out, which was a painful process.
Yep.
Uh, but nevertheless, after that, ended up um, taking and started this whole Level C solutions model. Originally, it was staffing alliances. So what happened is how it evolved is since I had grown up in Dallas, I knew a lot of the other owners in town, and they're like, no different than you would say, hey, if you run across something fits us, bring it over here. We'll either pay you commission or split fees.
Sure. Sure.
Okay, well, let's write that down just so we know what it is.
Yeah.
So that's how the model that we have now with Level C evolved. And through that process, we ended up um, rebranding from Staffing Alliances to Level C Solutions back about 2009, if I recall,
Hmm.
which actually it was driven from a proposal I had taken to the Business Navigators, the OCO NetWeavers,
Yeah. Yeah.
where we had so many executives in transition that that's where I'd come up with the Level C
Yeah.
piece. Um,
That's a great tie-in. I didn't realize that. That's interesting. Yeah.
yeah, that's where it really came from. And didn't realize that they weren't going to do anything with it. So after 6 months of the organization just letting it sit, I went, well, if y'all aren't going to do anything with the model, then I'll just pull it in and start running it. So
Wow.
that's so it was interesting because that changed everything. So picture yesterday if I walked into your firm and said, I'm with Staffing Alliances, well, see if we can help you with your people needs. You typically you get the response that says, well, need to talk to HR, they handle all of our
Yeah.
staff. And I went, so if today I walked in and said, well, I'm a Level C Solutions and want to see how we can help you, they go, what is that? Well, I said, well, think of sea level. It's just flipped around, and they go, "Oh, you
Yeah.
need to talk to the owner." I said, "Exactly." That's what changed everything.
That's great. Names are important.
Well, and I would not have thought that unless I'd gone through it firsthand like this.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you
You
can
know,
not
that it's little things like that. You know, people spend millions of dollars on marketing consultants to figure out what are we going to call ourselves. And then something like that is just magic. You know, you're having whole different conversations with your client base and with different people,
absolutely.
the people that make the decisions, which is really cool. So that really kind of answers my next question I had was how do you guys go to market? And a lot of that is so you're usually talking to C-level folks about what you can do to help them. Sounds like.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's where we start for our services. So we typically start with either business owner, whoever has P&L responsibilities.
Hmm.
And what I found through the years, oddly enough, is on the people and their talent side, 80% of the time, what the owners think they need and what they really need are two different things.
Yeah.
So in that process, then I've gotten pretty good at just reframing things with the business owners. So for example, let's say you think you need a CFO, okay? And as we talk it through, I'm going to go, so why do you think you need a CFO? Well, because we're growing, we need somebody that, knows how to do all the books and keep up with everything. I said, well, that's really more of a staff accountant, potentially a controller.
Yep. Yep.
So you really know what a CFO does? And they go, well, what do you mean? I said, well, they're really looking ahead and forward, not
Yeah.
backward what you've done.
It's
And
important to do the books, but it's also important to plan and think and
which
be
is
more than
all
a quarter ahead, right?
exactly. Well, in
Yeah.
fact, that touches on the other thing, which I typically start with business owners is where do you want to take you strategically?
Yeah.
Where do you
Yeah.
want to take your business? They go, what do you mean? I said, what's your strategy? What's your plan? They go,
Yeah.
what do you mean? I said, well, let's start by developing a strategy. How about
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. Yeah. Doesn't mean it has to be cast in concrete. We may change a couple things
Oh,
along the way, but at least we have to start with a strategy, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
It's
that is wild. So when I think of it, and I'll be full disclosure, when I had an IT services company. We started out as an IT products company. We sold a lot of. We didn't sell like servers and stuff like that, or very few of those. We sold data communications equipment and voice communications equipment. So think online data networks and obviously video conferencing back in its infancy, but also phone systems and everything that goes with that. And we were really smart technologically. We weren't too bad financially. My business partner had a finance degree, and he made sure we didn't get over our skis financially, and was good at cost control and all that. But I'll tell you, an area that we really suffered in was staffing and HR, because we just didn't know much about it, and it sounded like it involved people. And
it does.
we had for a long time. This is a terrible attitude to have, but we had like the more people we have, the more people problems we're going to have. So it was like, can we find some great people and just do everything we can to hang on to them and get by with as few as possible. But HR and staffing are such key components of any business, and in many cases, it's the number one cost of doing business. I mean, you start looking at people becomes maybe your cost of goods sold, but people are right up there. So, how do you guys approach that? How do you deal with somebody like I just described, who's me, that I just didn't understand about people? You know?
And you're right. When you look at a P&Ls, an income statement, typically um, salary is one piece of the puzzle, but then you've got all your insurance coverages,
Yeah.
benefits. And when you really look at the cost of people, it's usually 70% of your revenue.
Yep. Huge
Um,
number. Yeah.
oh, it's a huge number, and um, it's also the most unpredictable piece of your business.
Hmm.
I mean, people go home happy on Friday and they come back and stuff, the world fell apart on them over the weekend and they come
Yep.
in Monday and it's just not the same.
Yeah.
Like, what happened? You know, well, it's everything from family situations to kids to juggling schedules
Yep.
to hospitals to everything.
Yeah. Yep.
But nevertheless, the people part in my just like you and I have talked about, especially when you look at compare it to football teams, just ask Jerry how important people are, and he spends a lot to
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
out.
Yep.
Uh, and if you've got the wrong quarterback, or it's a killer.
Yeah.
So I always look at the positions and think, what's the most critical part of your process, and where do the people fall? And a lot of your support positions can be filled on support staff.
Hmm.
Okay. but your leadership needs to be solid and dependable. And I would highly recommend keep in touch with anybody that's critical in your whole process, almost, if not weekly, almost daily.
Yeah. Yeah.
The other flaw that I see a lot of companies and leaders do is they don't do performance reviews, or
Right.
they do once every 3 years.
We were guilty of that. And that was the deal where this is so bad for me to say this. So we had really well defined processes for we fell into it. We had a couple people helping us that were really professional. So we had a really good employee handbook. We had policies and procedures that were clearly defined. We had, people's job descriptions were clearly outlined, and we did some things right after doing them wrong for a long time. But I was the worst at, I only had like 4 direct reports, and they would have to come to me and say, been a while since I've had a performance review. I said, so it's like, yeah, I was the worst. So.
Well, in
Luckily, I
fact,
learned myself after a while.
yeah, at one point, I was COO for an engineering firm that did new product development for not quite a year and a half. And when I first jumped in to help them, they were a little bit upside down. And so they had 15 engineers on staff at the time.
Mhm.
And I sat down with them. And once I learned that they hadn't done performance reviews or any salary reviews for 3 years, I said, Mike, I said, the first thing we need to do is get these guys up to market
Yeah,
compensation. Then he goes, well, they're fine. They're happy. They get paid every Friday. I said, not about that. It's about they need to be in the market. I said,
yeah,
otherwise, you're going to have somebody like me from the outside. Once they recruit one of these guys away,
yep,
they're going to find, and you're going to find that they're going to recruit all of them away because
yep,
you're 3 years behind the curve compensation wise.
yep,
And then you got nothing left but rent. And he
yep.
goes, oh, well, that doesn't sound
Makes a
good.
huge difference. A huge difference.
Yeah.
So you guys, I know that part of the magic that I see that you all do is when you're working with a business owner, it is very strategic. Or if you're working with a CEO of a business, even if they're not the owner, and the separation of what types of positions can be fractional or can be temporary or can be staff level kind of things, and which ones you really need to have somebody that's got a lot of skin in the game on board. And how do you do the analysis to figure that out with a new company, a new client?
Thank you for tuning in to the Maximize Business Value podcast. This episode is the first of a 2-part release. Part 2 will be posted next week.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Maximize Business Value podcast. I hope today's conversation sparked new ideas on how you can continue driving value in your business. But remember, it's not just about listening. It's about taking massive action. Visit our website, masterypartners.com, for more resources. Grab a copy of any of the books in the Maximize Business Value series on Amazon or via the links below. And don't hesitate to reach out if you want to know how to apply these concepts to your business. So until next time, I'm Tom Bronson, reminding you to relentlessly execute while you maximize business value.